Hey everybody, welcome back again to Gab's Dojo. Last lesson we did was basically how to lab a problem when basically went into training mode, and I showcased any issues you may have with a character or any scenarios that you find problematic to deal with. Step-by-step process of using training mode to figure out a solution to those problems. Now, aside of using training mode to lab problems, the potential other side of the coin is actually labbing your own characters and seeing how you can improve yourself and your own play, which kind of leads into the topic for this lesson, which is going to be about game planning. So with that being said, let's get this underway. Going back to our trusty old friend training mode. Why are you not syncing? No, it doesn't matter. I don't need it. Right, so
Jackie Briggs.
Let's go with Miss Briggs. And let's go Sub.
Sub-Zero.
Someone be kind enough to pick a stage, please. Oh, we've seen the stragglers coming now. Hey Gabriel, hey Dan. Hourglass.
The Hourglass.
Blue Sarangbe, too slow. Right. So, game planning. What is a game plan? A game plan essentially is your roadmap to how you want to win. When you face an opponent, your goal is to win, and your game plan is basically your road in order to do that. Now, for those who might have been there way back when I first started this, one of the things I pointed out was that you need to have a reason and understand why you press a button or why you make every single decision. And having a game plan really helps you grasp that concept. Generally, you should never ever go into a match without having a game plan. Some people do just jump into matches and press buttons and hope they're going to win, but if you are being serious of improving and want to become better, or especially if you want to go as far as competitive play, you always need to have a game plan. So what I'm going to go through today is basically talk about how you would generally form a game plan, and using that I would go through my own trade secrets as Jackie and showcase my game plan to help you understand why I make the decisions I make, or why I play the way I play against people online and against you guys as well. I could say a name the English way, no worries. I prefer to do it the proper way, so I might think about that. You and my Melina style Jackie. My game plan versus Danish Jade. Okay, so first point, how would you generally form a game plan? The question you need to ask yourself is, what is the easiest way for my character to win? And once you find that question, or the answers to that question, you'll be able to more effectively develop a game plan. three things you need to be wary of in order to form a game plan, and they're essentially character tools, playstyles, and strengths and weaknesses for both character and yourself. So, step one, forming a game plan, is going through your character tools and what they've got. So, I'm going to set sub to block all for the meantime. Now, I'm not going to go through every single move that Jackie has, because everyone has seen Jackie, they kind of know what she has. But just going to go through some things that you would have to definitely keep an eye on. So first things first, I'll go through my character's normals to see how they kind of operates. And I want you to pay attention to the startup frames, bottom left corner. Actually, let me take off Sub-Zero so you don't get distracted. Frame data, just apply one. So I want to pay attention to the startup frames, first box on the top left. And you notice with Jackie, when you go through her normal attacks, like standing one, forward one, down one, all the twos, you find that a lot of her moves are very quick, ranging between the 7 to like 12 frame startup mark. So we can see that she has a lot of moves that are basically very fast. Slowest moves are probably going to be back 2 and back 1, but that in itself, 2 out of everything else, is not really that bad. And the next thing I want to pay attention to is looking at the block advantage for the moves I'm going to do, which is basically Jackie's strings as well as her normals. So you see 1 is like -2, 1-1 is plus, so still my turn. 1-1-2 is -4, forward 1 -2, forward 1-2 is -4, forward 3 -2, forward 3 1 -2. You're kind of getting that idea now that a lot of her stuff is either safe or plus, but a lot of the disadvantage is very, very low, which basically means, going back to a very early lesson when I talked about pressure and staggers, this character basically has moves built in order for stagger pressure. So what I mean by stagger pressure, in case people are not aware of, is when you cut a string short and then do another move in order to catch an opponent pressing buttons when it shouldn't do. Like for example, if you're used to doing 4-3-1 all the time, it's impossible for a person to react to this into that, or to react from this into a throw. So based on just going through those strings and normals, it's easy to kind of tell that this character is built to rush down and stay in your opponent's face, like stay in his and her grill for as long as she can, using things like her safe tools and stagger pressure and throws in order to get her offense. To win with Jackie equals mash and don't let your opponent breathe. It's not mashing. Don't let your opponent breathe, I agree, but not mashing. Jackie's so safe, it should make Scarlet as safe as Jackie. Maybe. Hey Snoozy, welcome. Hope you're doing alright. So, characters built in to rush down and stay in the opponent's grill. With that, we can also see that a lot of her moves and normals don't actually go that far, except for back 2 mainly. So being at a distance will be her key weakness. Now she does have tools to get in, like dash punch, or in this specific variation, dive bomb. Obviously upgraded, it's got the leap, so she does have things to get around it, but supposedly her key weakness will be like from the distance. So with that, Jackie's ideal positioning is probably wants to be around about this range. Obviously here would be best, but here inwards will be her optimal range in order to initiate her offense and take advantage of her strengths. So once we go to character tools and go through them. Hey Stephen, how's it going? Next thing to look into would be playstyles. Now, ideally you should be playing and picking characters that suits your playstyle. Like if you prefer rushing down and not letting people breathe, then yes, you should be maining the likes of Jackie and Sonya. If you want to just stand back and throw projectiles all day, then yeah, you probably look at Shang Tsung, Cetrion. So ideally you should play a character that fits the way you want to play. I kind of make things harder for myself because I usually just play the characters that I like the look of or think is cool or want to play, and then I adapt my playstyle to those characters, which is a lot of work, but I guess over the years it's made me a bit more well-rounded. Sonya rushed down, lol. I mean, yeah, I know. So brief history from when I was taking fighting games more seriously. Back in MK9 I used to main Melina, and then I was like a rushdown fool. I would do whatever I can to get into an opponent's face and make them do mistakes and get my combos in. And that transitioned to Injustice when I started competing and I made Wonder Woman. Did similar thing. Played heavy rush down, get into opponents, and then even when I played Street Fighter I was a Ken main, and then I was doing the same, you know, get into an opponent's face and then rushing down, opening people up. However, it was from Street Fighters when I also started making my transition, because I was a big fan of a character called Jury, and Jury was a very neutral based heavy zoner. Zoning was actually kind of obnoxious against some characters, but I really wanted to play that character, so I had to go through quite a bit of an adjustment from rush down to literally pure zoner. And then when that transitioned into MKX, obviously I was a Melina main there. I was mainly a rushdown player, despite Melina not having the greatest mix-ups at the time. But eventually over time, I started transitioning away from rushdown and becoming a more neutral-based defensive player. So from that, it made me realize that generally my playstyle, I'm actually like jack of all trades characters. I like characters who like to do, who is capable of doing everything. Doesn't have to be the best at it, but give me option to be rush down, options to give me neutral game, and options to actually zone if I wanted to, is things that appeal to me the most, which is why I've gravitated towards next gen in this game. I mean, I still do adjustments now. I mean, I play also Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, another fighting game, and in that game I'm a main character called Zoe, and Zoe is basically a setup monster. Basically she does combos into setups, into setups, into setups on top of setups, and that's completely different. That's definitely an adjustment. I'm learning how to play that kind of way, but it gives me the option of having another kind of playstyle down as well. I do the same thing. I love Kitana, so I make myself good at her. Nice to know, this random guy, that's the way to do it. Do you guys remember Deadshot's zoning in Injustice 2 before his patch? I do, but you know what, there's worse characters than Deadshot in Injustice 2. Deathstroke in Injustice 1 vanilla was worse. Raven was probably worse. Zod was even a lot worse in Injustice 1 than Deadshot was ever was. But anyway, maybe I should try Joker for setups. Potentially. potentially. Anyway, moving on. So, since next gen basically gives me the toolset of how I want to play, and focuses on my strength of wanting to be fluid in the game, I'm now going to kind of go through the game plan that I play with as Miss Briggs next gen. Number one goal for me as part of my game plan in a match is to get my opponent into the corner as quickly as possible. And the reason why I do that is because as we said, Jackie is heavy in rushdown, wants to stay in for as long as possible, and the easiest way to prevent someone from getting out is to get them cornered. Two ways I can do this. One, there's a specific combo, if I land it, if my execution is good enough to land it, because I do drop it quite a lot. If I land this combo, then it literally takes me from mid-screen where we are to the corner. It'd be helpful if I made sub not block. This is not going well. This is not going well. Come on, Jackie. There we go. So literally gone from mid-screen to the corner in one combo. It's always hard when you're on the spot. Yeah, for sure. So once I'm here, I now can take advantage of Jackie's tools, Jackie's moves, like her safe stuff, her staggers into throws, do like setups into fins that does extra damage, like ending the nat and dropping this in, maybe force people to do a anti-air, well, force people to jump in order for me to anti-air and take fins from there. So the other way in order to get people into the corner, it's a very long way around of doing it, but just dropping this down. Good old puddles. For those who don't not aware, when an opponent stands in a puddle, they take 1% of damage for each time they stand in it. Maximum of 11% total. So when I drop this down, most people get it right. Choose to move back. They don't want to get the damage, but they don't want to move closer to me, where Jackie excels, so they move back. So I'm just going to record sub, just crouch blocking and moving back. And then when I drop puddles, forces the opponent back and further back, and eventually they get cornered, and then I'm able to do what I would like to do. Jackie's combos took so long, she's like up, yeah. I just noticed I play characters who don't really have combos, and all my characters have cancels. Highborn, Jaded, and Royal Edenian. Fair enough. Do you call back 1 forward, back forward 2 a combo? Technically it is a combo. I mean, it is counting as numerous hits. It might not be the combo that you want, but it is a combo. So the combination of those two steps allows me to do my number one aim as next gen, which is get my opponent into the corner, and then I can utilize her tools as best as possible. The next thing I do focus on is, because Jackie doesn't have the traditional overhead low mix-up to open people opponents, I establish a throwing game what if you fail to get your opponent in a corner? Does your game plan fall apart? No, it doesn't. And this kind of thing I'm about to go through kind of indicates why. So when I talk about establishing a throwing game, I mean putting yourself in scenarios where throws are more or less more than likely going to hit. Usually they involve taking advantage of plus frames or staggers, and then that will allow you to consistently throw. So for example with Jackie, let me have sub blocking all. I will maybe do forward 1-2 a few times and then do forward 1 into a throw, or same as forward 3-1, and then into a throw. Why is my throw button not working? There we go. Or even 1 and plus, like after that string, go for a throw afterwards. Now, my throws, the reason why I do this, like for example off this string, is when you do it enough times, your opponent will either tech the throw, they read which way they're going, or they will neutral duck, expecting the throw to come, because I've conditioned them that after I do this string I always go for a throw. So when I do it next time, the mix-up will be getting hit by that. So when you establish a throw game, you can then start doing what's called the throw versus strike mix-up, where opponents have to guess whether you're going for a throw or whether you're going for a mid or a button. Similar to like guessing to overhead, instead of guessing overhead low like most people, this version is to have a strike or throw. Now in terms of throws as well, if I am mid screen, I generally want to throw backwards. Let's see what's just going on. MKX will also Jackie gunshots or combos too. Wow, that's a bit harsh. I generally want to throw backwards. Main reason being is because it leaves us close to the optimal range I would want Jackie to be to enforce her rushdown tools. So like from here, forward 1 would hit. Back 3 would, forward 3 wouldn't, but like forward 4 would, or standing 2 would. So it allows me to keep my pressure going. If I'm about a third of the way across mid-screen, more often than not I will throw you forwards, because it will push you very close to the corner. If I checked, yeah, literally 3 character dashes away from the corner. So when I'm about a third way each way, it depends what I feel like. More often than not I'll throw you to the corner, but sometimes I might want to throw you back to keep you mid-screen. A lot of that decision will be based on the matchup I'm playing. So if I've got a character who's got a more scarier corner game than me, like Sonya for example, with her damage, I may not want to corner her all the time. I might just want to keep the match mid-screen. Maybe. It depends how the flow goes. So, talk about plan 1 of getting my opponent to the corner as quickly as possible. Plan 2, utilizing throw game and strike versus throw as my mix-up to get damage. The third thing that I do like about this variation is how fluid my plan can be when I have the life lead. So when I land a combo, any kind of combo, I can do various things that I want depending how I feel. For example, auto. If I land this, maybe I'll end with puddle. And with that, even though it's less damage, the opponent gets up into damage over time, and I'm still close enough to initiate offense. Whether it's like a forward 1, forward back 2. It allows me to keep going with my pressure. Sarang never drops any Cassie juggle though. So that's what I do if I wanted to keep the pressure. If I wanted to force people to maybe overreact and overcommit, I might drop this down. Mainly when I drop that dome, people would immediately move away because of the threats of the throw, crush and blow, and I'm still semi-close enough to do some sort of offense. So if they move back, my back two will connect, or I can send people away by just throwing projectiles to push them further to the corner. And finally, my other option might be Dash Punch. 1, because it has the most damage. 2, because it sends them full screen if I want to play a zoning game. Or if I get involved in a zoning war, I can throw this down to take less damage. And then force the opponent to come to me. If I especially have better tools than he or she does up close, then it's sometimes easier to make the opponent come to me and put them in a position where they're most uncomfortable, in order for me to take advantage of any mistakes they might make. But also give me the option of just wanting to play keep away if I can, and then force a mistake from there. So with that is generally how I play next gen. The main goal is to get them to the corner as quickly as I can, whether via damage or slowly backing them away with my puddles. When up close, establish the throw game, establish my pressure when I can, especially using back throws to keep offense and forward throws when it pushes them to the corner, part of my game plan 1. And then when I have the life lead, it depends how I feel. If I feel like the momentum is with me, I might go for a more offensive ender, so I'm able to continue my pressure. If I want to slow the tempo of the match down, I might send them full screen and then, you know, put in puddles, making it difficult for my opponent to get in on me. And yeah, the dome is just for extra mind games. So, general tips in terms of game plans. A game plan should always play to your character's strengths, and ideally to your strength as well. You know, if you want to be like a rushdown player, I don't think you should be using a rushdown strategy with like fanfare katana. I mean, you can if you want it just won't be easy. So, best to look into that, and yes, adjust yourself or playstyle to characters that fit your strengths and your weaknesses. And generally as well, with your game plan, it should always be strong enough to know what you need to do at all times, but also be versatile enough to know that when your opponent is trying to stop you from doing your game plan, you have ways to either get yourself back on track or to kind of adapt it in order to get things back in your favor. So like with Jackie, if I'm playing someone who's like, I don't know, got just as good rushdown or better rushdown than me, like the Namira, then I will make sure I will counter attack at the right times in order to take my turn back, or I would just send them away like full screen and then focus on zoning and a neutral game. Let's have a look what's going on in the chat. Are you doing a student cough today? Do you know, it wasn't my plan to, but if people are really up for it and are free to, then I can do for a period of time, like an hour or so. I rush down with Highborn, which is probably the best variation to rush down with if you're with Katana. I rush sometimes with Fanfare. There's nothing wrong with rushing down with Fanfare. I'm just saying that it probably shouldn't be your number one go-to game plan, because that's not Katana's strength. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but maybe not build everything around it. See you, Antonio. Thanks for tuning in. So actually, as I kind of mentioned beforehand to the people who was here, there was going to be a short lesson, and that actually kind of wraps up game planning. So for those tuning in, I hope that this was useful. I hope it will allow you to think about game plans, or design your own game plans, or even tweaking. Or tweaking your own game plan to make it even better. By all means, if people are struggling with certain game plans, or maybe a new character, not sure what to do with a certain character, by all means you can get in touch, and then I'll see what I can do to help. But other than that, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Next lesson, geez, thinking there's only 3 more left now. Wow, took a while to get there, but we're there. Next lesson is probably going to be next week. I'm actually quite determined to make it next week. It might be probability. I have to think about what I'm going to do. It might be probability, but it might be 2 topics. But we'll see. But for those watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in, and any questions in the comments beside, leave be. Please do. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next lesson. Take care and peace out.